senators, and representatives, I have the distinguished honor of presenting.
The mid-19th century was a time of rapid change and expansion for the United States. Among the most significant events of this era was the opening of Japan to foreign trade, a bold diplomatic and military maneuver led by Commodore Matthew Perry in 1853 and 1854. This event not only reshaped U.S. Japan relations, but also marked a pivotal step in America's broader engagement with the Pacific region. At the time, Japan had been a closed society for over 200 years under the Tokugawa Shogunate, maintaining a policy of isolation known as sakoku. Foreign trade was limited to select Dutch and Chinese merchants operating under strict conditions. For the United States, opening Japan offered several strategic benefits. Japan's location made it a vital link for trade with China and other Asian markets. The Pacific whaling industry and expanding American trade required reliable ports for resupplying and repairs, and expanding into the Pacific aligned with the belief that America had a destiny to influence and lead in global affairs. In July 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry, commanding 4 steam-powered warships known as the Black Ships, entered Tokyo Bay. His arrival was a calculated show of force aimed at persuading Japan to open its ports. Perry delivered a letter from President Millard Fillmore, requesting trade relations and better treatment for shipwrecked sailors. The Japanese, unprepared to respond to Perry's advanced ships and firepower, agreed to consider the request and asked for time to deliberate. Perry returned in February 1854 with a larger fleet of 7 warships, signaling America's seriousness. After negotiations, the Japanese government agreed to the Treaty of Kanagawa on March 31, 1854. The Treaty of Kanagawa was a landmark agreement that ended Japan's policy of isolation and established formal relations between the U.S. and Japan. Key provisions included opening 2 ports. Shimoda and Hakodate were made available for American ships to refuel and resupply. Protection for shipwrecked sailors, ensuring U.S. sailors would receive humane treatment. And a U.S. consulate in Japan, establishing a formal diplomatic presence. While the treaty was relatively modest, it paved the way for subsequent agreements with other Western powers and set the stage for Japan's modernization. The opening of Japan had far-reaching consequences. The treaty facilitated trade and provided a strategic foothold in Asia for American merchants. Exposure to Western technology and practices accelerated Japan's transformation during the Meiji Restoration, beginning in 1868, and the event underscored America's commitment to expanding its presence in the Pacific, reinforcing its emerging role as a global power. The opening of Japan must be viewed in the broader context of global imperialism. Britain, Russia, and other European powers were also vying for influence in Asia, making it crucial for the U.S. to assert itself. China's defeat by Britain in the Opium Wars demonstrated the vulnerabilities of isolationist policies, a lesson Japan observed closely. Commodore Matthew Perry, known as the father of the steam navy, played a crucial role in the mission's success, while Tokugawa Ieyasu, the ruling shogun during Perry's arrival, reluctantly agreed to open Japan. Perry stated, "We have come across the great ocean with a strong squadron, and we are determined that the decision of this government shall be of a Pacific character." The U.S. fleet included 4 state-of-the-art steamships, showcasing America's technological superiority. By the 1860s, Japan's ports were open to several Western nations, and the country began rapidly industrializing. While the mission is celebrated as a diplomatic triumph, it was not without its challenges. The abrupt imposition of Western ideas was seen by some as a threat to Japanese traditions. Perry's use of military force raised questions about the ethics of gunboat diplomacy. The opening of Japan eventually led to its imperial ambitions, contributing to tensions in the 20th century. The opening of Japan marked the beginning of a new era in U.S.-Asia relations. It reinforced America's belief in its ability to shape global events, established a foundation for future cooperation and conflict between the two nations, and highlighted the role of naval power in achieving foreign policy objectives, a lesson that continued to shape U.S. strategy in the Pacific. The opening of Japan was more than a diplomatic milestone. It was a statement of America's growing ambition and influence. As students of history, Understanding this moment helps us see how the United States transitioned from a continental power to a global one, using diplomacy, technology, and strategy to shape the world.